Good morning, you guys. We're out in the morning. We've got some things to get planted today before it gets hot. I've got two plants that I'm excited to show you guys about. I've already talked about them multiple times on the channel, and I'm excited to finally get them planted. One of them is obviously in full bloom, and the other one is not in any sort of bloom at all. But I'm really, really excited about this plant, very specifically this one. I am really, really excited about it. I have wanted to get my hands on this plant for a while now, and I have wanted to be able to grow one of these plants in my garden for a very long time. I just didn't have the space for it. And I have the space for this plant, so that's why I'm excited. So let me turn the camera around, show you guys what we have going in the ground. Not my rooster. And then we will go to the backyard and I'll show you guys where these are going to get planted. So let's start with the rose over here. This is the Nitty Gritty White Rose. I just recently talked about this one. 3 feet tall, 4 feet wide, growing zones 4 through 9. I'm really excited about this rose. I've been waiting to get this planted until it started really blooming because I wanted to show you guys what it looked like when it was in bloom. Isn't that so pretty? And what I like about this is as the blooms fade, that's a new one. Back here is a faded one. It doesn't hold on to its petals, so it drops them instead of holding on to them, which is really, really nice because with white flowers, as you guys know, they tend to turn really brown and they tend to turn gross. Actually, like here's a petal right here that must have fallen. So white blooms tend to always look like this. And I've had a couple white flowers that hold on to their blooms, and then you just get these like dead, crispy brown flowers, and it's not a good look. So this one lets go of all of its blooms, which is really nice. Then you just get these empty heads like this, which is totally fine. Way better that it looks like that than a whole bunch of crispy brown. But isn't that so pretty? Look at these new blooms though. They're so gorgeous. It looks unreal. It looks like a painting almost. They're so pretty. I love the yellow in the center of these, and then the yellow fades to like just being solid white. They're really, really pretty. I'm really excited about this rose, and it just continues to bloom and bloom and bloom. You can see, so this one has some aged blooms on it, and then it's shot up 2 more. So it's just gonna continue to bloom. This one wants full sun, you know, well draining soil like any rose. I am gonna fertilize it with some rose tone from Espoma. Yeah, it should bloom spring through fall, full sun. I'm really excited about it. This hasn't been fertilized in this container since I brought it home. And one reason I didn't do that was because Monrovia works really hard on crafting different soil types for different plants. So the soil that's in this container is different than the soil that's in this container. And this one is like specially formulated for roses, and it's got like all the different things that roses need. So as you guys know, I do have a rose addiction. I have a ton of them. And so as I do with all my roses, when I plant this, I'm going to go in with some rose tone. And then I will fertilize again in the summertime, like mid-summer, with some more fertilizer to continue to push blooms. And I'm going to make sure that this thing gets plenty enough water, at least for the first year. Once roses get more established, they're usually pretty drought tolerant. Well, not drought tolerant. They're pretty hardy, and they don't need to have a ton of water. But definitely for that first year, while they're getting their roots established, I always try to make sure that they have plenty enough water. I am going to make sure that this has irrigation hooked up next to it, so I don't have to worry about it drying out. That is one of the biggest things, is that I think that people think that roses are more like hardy, drought tolerant than they actually are. They think that they can just put roses in the ground and not have to water them and not have to worry about them. That's not the case, at least while they're getting their roots fully established, is to make sure that you're giving your roses plenty enough water, because you don't want them to dry out and die, especially while they're throwing this many blooms. So they are hungry, they want to eat, and they want to have plenty enough water. I just sneezed, sorry. So we're gonna take care of both of those things and make sure that we set this up for success, because we love this. Let's talk about this plant right here. This plant right here is one that I am so excited to get in the ground. This is called Little Darling Lilac. I love lilacs. This one is growing zones 4 through 8, and it gets 4 feet tall, 4 feet wide, and it is just the cutest little lilac, and I am so excited to put this in my garden. Now, you guys have heard me talk about how things have to have a big impact in my garden because I'm on a limited space, and it can't just bloom for, 2 weeks. It has to have big impact, or if it's gonna bloom for only 2 weeks, it has to, be the show of a lifetime. And this is a lilac, and lilacs only bloom in the springtime, right? Now, this one blooms spring and it blooms in the fall. We get a double show out of it. We get 2 blooms. So the first blooms that come are in the springtime, and it is a very, very heavy set of blooms, and it blooms like a ton of blooms. This thing bloomed like crazy in its container. I was so excited. It smelled amazing. It is one of the strongest lilac smells that I've smelt. This little teeny tiny can filled the air with lilac smell. It was to die for. It was amazing. And then so we're gonna get that spring show, and then we're also going to get a smaller show in the fall time. The blooms do start out a very, very dark purple color. So when they're closed, and then as they open, they turn almost white, like a very lavender, a very soft, pale lavender color. So it starts out purple, and as those blooms open, you get this change of color, which is amazing in itself too. And then you get that smell, and it was amazing. It was to die for, and it didn't just all bloom at once. In its container, it bloomed for probably 3-4 weeks. So it was like a month almost of continuous blooms from when you start to see the purple and they open, turn white, and they fade. It did hang on to its blooms a little bit, not too bad. I did notice most of them did drop, and there was maybe 10 blooms that were still on here, bloom spikes, which I don't think that was that bad. There are still a couple on here, but they're still green. So you can see there's one here, there's one here, there's one right here. So they kind of disappeared. We're gonna wait because there's a propane truck coming by. Okay, we're back here because it turns out it was one of the neighbors getting a dumpster picked up from their property. But I'm so excited about this lilac. I am technically out of the growing zone for it. It is growing zones 4 through 8. I'm in a zone 9, but I know 2 of my next door neighbors have lilacs that they grow, so this should do fine, even though it's technically zones 4 through 8. But I very rarely listen to growing zones just because growing zones only tell you how cold you get. They don't take into account a lot of other things, and I picked this lilac up at the growing facility in California, so I know that they were growing it a little further south than I am, and they're also a zone 9. So I wasn't worried about it. I thought, okay, if they're growing it and they got blooms on it, I should be able to get blooms on it and be able to grow it, no problem. So I'm really excited about this one. I've loved lilacs ever since I was a kid. I think that they're absolutely amazing. So I'm really excited to get this one on the ground. And like I said, 4 feet tall, 4 feet wide. It's perfect. I can tuck it in almost anywhere in the garden. Where I want both of these to go, we're still working on the fence. And they probably can't get planted exactly where I want them, which is fine. Brent will just have to work around it. So let's go get these planted now. I'm so excited to get this lilac in, especially because it blooms twice in a year. That is something that is so important to me, that things have big impact and they have more than just 1 hour of a show. So let's get these in the ground. I'll show you where they're gonna go. It's gonna be so good. So I'm thinking of putting the lilac right back here. Okay, I messed up. I planted the euphorbia right there. Probably shouldn't have done that, but I'm thinking right behind them, I'm gonna do that. I've got the sweet spire right there in a terracotta pot, and I'm gonna just push that back again. It was back even further, and that's where it's gonna go. It's just gonna get tucked back again, and then I can put that little darling lilac right there. That way we get a really good smell because we're sitting right there all the time. So we'll get the smell of it wafting in. I think that that'll be really, really nice. So I'm gonna have to move that container back up against the fence. There's a massive space behind this and the fence. So it should be fine. So that way I can get that there. I think it's gonna be really pretty. And then I do need to stake this back up again once I cut all of this back, and we had put up these fence boards, not we, Brent. We had to take off the bungee cord that was holding it up straight. So I gotta straighten that back out. So a little bit of work in here, moving things, straightening things up, and planting that little darling lilac right in there. It's going to be so exciting once that fills in, because that should get about that big. Fill that hole in right there. It'll be really, really nice. And then as far as the rose, I really want to plant it like right here, but we have a water hose bib, but whatever it's called, right here. And you know, you don't really want a rose that close to where you're having to turn the water on and off. So then I was thinking, okay, well, I'll put it like a little further towards the back of the bed, because I'm really not loving the plant that's right there. It's the Berry Poppins. I'm just not happy with it. So I'm gonna remove it, but we need to paint the fence. We got to get that done first. I don't know exactly what to do. Do I pull that plant now and then just plant it a little further forward? That's what I'm going to do. Talk to myself into it. I'm going to plant it so it's here. And then I've got planting space behind it to do something nice and tall right there. That's a great idea. That's what we'll do. We'll plant it here-ish. Right there. I'm going to grab the giant umbrella with our wood pile. I'm gonna move this umbrella so I can work in the shade, because it's a little spicy. Going to be so beautiful right there. I cannot wait for that to fill in. Should fill in this entire area, and we should still easily have access to that. And Brent can paint the fence. He can easily get back there. So it's perfect spot for this. It's going to be so pretty. I already saw a few bees on it, which I'm really excited about. I really love plants like this that have easy access for pollinators to get to. Adding things like this is really important to me, at least. So roses like this, where I'm already seeing them where I'm already seeing bees on them in their nursery container, is really important and really exciting. I think it's going to be so beautiful right here. I need to take this plant tag off, but I'm really excited about it. Once again, this is the Nitty Gritty White Rose from Monrovia. This is gonna be gorgeous right here. And then as far as taking this plant out, this is the Berry Poppins. This is what it did. You know, I knew it was a stretch trying to grow this. I knew it probably wasn't going to be the best. It is totally out of my growing zones. And I thought if I planted it somewhere where it got a little more shade, it would have been happy. But it held onto the berries, and some of the berries started to rot on here, which kind of grossed me out. And then once I started to see this, I was really not happy with that. So we just don't keep things that don't make us happy. And this is not something that was making me happy in the garden. And then if we come over here, it's so tiny right now, but give it a little bit of time and this will fill that entire hole out, which will be so nice. I really can't wait for that lilac. I can't wait to see it bloom this springtime also. Like I said, to get 2 shows out of something is super important, or the 1 show that it provides has to be amazing. And I didn't have room for, you know, a 20-foot tall lilac. So this is super perfect little size right here. And the fact that we'll be able to smell it because we're right here is going to be so exciting. So like I said, a couple of my neighbors have one. There is a lilac back there. You can't even see it because it's totally covered from the rose right here. That's a Lady Banks rose that I hate. So it's being taken over by that. And then there's a privet and there's a privet. And then over there, that shrub right there is also a lilac. So I know lilacs can grow in my growing zone, in my area. You can see there's like a white rose growing inside that one right now. So I know that I can grow them. I know it's not gonna be an issue. I'm excited to have my own lilac. So I'm gonna go inside now. It's toasty out. I'm sweating. So gross. This is real life gardening. This is Gardening California Zone 9, 9A, and be prepared because we're gonna hit 115 degrees this summer like we do every single summer. So it's gonna be really toasty, really hot, and I'm gonna be a sweaty mess. It's gonna be really gross. But we're friends and we're not gonna judge. I'll see you guys all in the next video. I'm gonna go inside now. Bye guys.